Yo, what's poppin', people? Your boy Snacks is back in the building with another banger. And you know how we do. It's Sunday. Happy Sunday, everybody. And I'm chilling, strolling on the YouTubes, going through Big 12 stuff, trying to get to know, some of these different podcasts and sports analysts in the Big 12, because I know all of them in the SEC and the African known Pac 12. So I'm just seeing, rolling through, getting down, trying to check everybody's thoughts and see what everybody's thinking about the conference and who's putting people where. And I run across Heartland and Josh Pace, Josh Pate, big ball head ass is on there. And they're giving their thoughts on Colorado in the upcoming season. And Josh Pate thinks it's an experiment. So we're going to get into it. Let's check it out. So here's Josh Pate on the Heartland College Sports show. And Josh Pate thinks Colorado is an experiment, not an actual program, and he don't really doesn't think it'll work. But let's genuinely hear his thoughts because he's expressed his thoughts on his late kick show sometimes, but he's never gone this much in depth. And it wasn't really an in depth thing. He just really just said what he's somewhat been leaning to. And I wonder why he hasn't been to Colorado because he travels around the country to all these sports programs, interviews all these coaches, but yet he hasn't made it to Colorado. I don't know if because he's not invited or if he's asked to come and sit down and talk with Coach Prime, but I think that would happen if he'd asked for it. But he's yet to do it. So let's check it out.
The whole Colorado thing, I didn't go to Colorado, but the whole Colorado thing fascinates me because there's this belief that I think is incorrect that because you go to a conference with lower ranked recruiting classes and less first round draft picks, it's more prone to be picked off. I think the inverse is true. I think that conference is well aware of what it is and what it isn't. And they don't count on landing five stars. They count on a developmental approach to football, which again is beautiful and I love it. Well, what
Mm-hmm.
happens is you end up playing a roster full of guys that may have been ranked three stars out of high school, but they're not playing as 18-year-olds, Pete. They're playing as a bunch of 20 and 21-year-old.
Let's go right here. Big 12 is the lesser known conference out of the four or the five, but only in name because of the colleges with Texas and Oklahoma leaving. That leaves colleges like Texas Tech, Kansas State, Iowa State, you know, Baylor, things of that nature, Utah. Central Florida is now in the Big 12. And with Central Florida is one of the scariest games Colorado will play this year. Because Gus Malzahn is a beast. And with KJ Jefferson transferred from Arkansas, and they picked up the um I forget the kid's name who played at Alabama, left Alabama, went to Texas, played at Texas, was off last season, didn't play at all last season, and now he's gonna be in Central Florida. That game right there, that UCF game is gonna be scary because Gus Malzahn with that type of quarterback, because KJ is a reminder of Cam, and if you know Gus, his best years are with transfer quarterbacks, not quarterbacks that he developed, but ones that transfer. That USC game got me kind of spooky. But we'll dive more into that as the season goes on. But let's get back.
And culture is rock solid because that's the only way. Togetherness, cohesiveness, synergy, like those programs are all like bowling balls rolling at you every week. And if
Mm-hmm.
you're just a bunch of pieces that got put together in the portal, I don't care. Honestly, that's one area where I will agree the star rankings are going to end up being overrated. If you've got teams facing collections of individuals, the star rankings are going to be rendered pretty moot at the end of the fourth.
So his thing is teams are better if they're built from the ground up and not built through the transfer portal. But new day and age, and two things can be true at one time, depending on how you feel and how you use the transfer portal. The transfer portal can be beautiful, especially at the time Coach Prime came to Colorado, because he gets the chance to build a program the way he wants to build it. The first year was just pieces. The second year is keeping some of those pieces, bringing in a bunch of new pieces. But this year, the pieces that you bring in have time to grow and time to develop, and also played a lot of football the year before. It's a collective of players that have played the game and understand what college football is about, played at a high level, played on teams that mattered, started in Big 12, Big 10, SEC, ACC, all these different conferences. And they're just not filler players. They're players that started and got stats, major stats. So, but his thing is you can't do it that way. So let's get back.
Fourth quarter.
Yeah, that's well said. Now, you mentioned culture, you mentioned recruiting, you mentioned coaches. Deion Sanders, Coach Prime in the Big 12. Is this thing going to work? And if so, how do you define work?
Yeah, work.
I would define work as matching the expectations they have. And they're not talking about bowl eligibility out there. They voluntarily have thrown around playoff aspirations.
Correct.
Not behind closed doors, publicly.
Why would you think
their approach is not going to work on that front? I just described to you how I view their potential life in the Big 12. I don't think it's going to be. I don't think it's going to. I think it's going to be a wake up call, honestly, for them, because
really?
I think that for better or for worse, they're going to look at a schedule that features a Kansas or a TCU like last year, or an Iowa State or whatever, and they're going to think, we got guys who are going to play on Sundays. They don't have so many of those.
Oh.
And that is not football. That is.
So you admit we got guys that are going to play on Sunday. Besides Shador and Travis, Shiloh, there are other guys that are going to play on Sunday. But also those younger guys. Those younger guys are what's going to make the difference.
It is not the way college football works. And the other thing is, I will never be a believer until you prove me otherwise that you can build through the portal. I don't ever believe you can do that. I think you supplement through the portal. I think even the big boys, even Ole Miss, which, Pete, I use as an example because they're like the next closest to doing what Colorado's doing. Ole Miss has averaged recruiting classes in like the 20 to 25 range of the last.
Ole Miss is going to be Ole Miss. I don't care what they do. Ole Miss is in the SEC. And there are 3 to 4 dominant teams in the SEC. Always have been, always will be. Alabama, Georgia, Florida. Now, with Texas and Oklahoma, there's 6. So there's nothing you can do with Ole Miss. I don't care what Lane Kiffin does down there. And Lane Kiffin is trying his ass off. He's built a good team. But yet it's still Ole Miss. Their biggest game every year is going to be playing Alabama and playing the Egg Bowl. That's it. They are at their peak. And it's with Lane Kiffin, they've reached their peak. And it's going to stay there. You know, because it's still Ole Miss, dog. It's still Mississippi. There's nothing glamorous about going to the Grove and playing football, you know, because there's nothing else to do. Even Mississippi State in Starkville, which is Stark Vegas, they can have a lot of fun up there, but yet and still, those schools would always plateau out at a certain level. But let's finish this up real quick.
Last 4 years, Colorado just brought in a class ranked in the 1 teens. So even the next closest comparison is apples to oranges. But I don't believe it's not a program. It's an experiment. That's really what it feels like. A program is built through recruiting. This is more an experiment. And you know what? I could be wrong, and maybe it'll work. But I'm telling you, if it works,
wrong.
it'll be the first time it's ever been done that way.
He's wrong. He's hella wrong. And it won't be the first. It'll be the first time that it worked. But y'all don't think it can work. Like I said, it can work. It'll work.
There's never been a better.
It'll work. It has to work. Because Prime, you have to understand what they built. And people don't think that there's a culture in Colorado. The kids have to buy into what you're telling them. And this class that they brought in has bought in and believes in what Coach Prime, Warren Sapp, and all these other coaches have been telling them about this game, about this season, about what they're trying to accomplish and what their goals are. And you got teams like Ole Miss and a few others that are trying to under recruit Colorado and buying players off and trying to get players to come. There are players until the portal closed were still getting offers from other schools to come with big money packages. And they chose to stay. This I know for a fact. It's not hyperbole. It ain't hype. It ain't conjecture. It's just fact. These kids were being offered a lot of money just to leave Colorado so Prime doesn't have a chance. That's how bad these coaches don't want Colorado to win because they know once Coach Prime starts winning, it's over. It is over. But anyway, man, y'all give me y'all thoughts. Leave your comments down in the comment section. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, do what you do. Appreciate y'all. We out. Peace.